We're in this.
Hello, Jaime Suarez.
Oh, hello. You can call me Mary. That's fine. I'm the testing coordinator.
Okay.
Hello, Mary.
Hello.
It's going to be, I want to say, an informal training. So if you guys have any questions, please stop me at any point, because your questions can definitely benefit anybody else who is viewing this training here. Also, let me know if you can't hear me or if I need to speak up louder or clearly.
If you guys are uncomfortable with speaking on the microphone, you can also put all your questions into the chat and we'll see your questions through there as well. Okay.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so let me just see. Oh, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I had down about 19 people send out the invitation to. I only see about 8. So should we wait or should we go ahead and start?
You have a list of the people that you emailed. Did I receive the email as well? The same Zoom meeting invite?
Yes, it would be the Zoom. I sent out an invitation for this. So yes, you would see everybody who was part of it. So Nancy declined and I know she wasn't attending.
I don't have the option to see the other.
Okay, so I have, let's see, Jennifer Borrego. Or maybe some of this might be doubled up. I'm just looking at the emails. So
Of course.
yes. Okay. Actually, yes. It looks like they were doubled up. Okay.
Okay.
But we're going to assume everybody's here already. All right. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start proctors, because I'm going to go ahead and start addressing you as TSC proctors for TSI. So as Mr. Maraboto may have already given you some kind of introduction to this new role that you're going to be taking on, is that TSI here at the TSE campus has moved on to a virtual platform via Zoom. So similar to what we are currently meeting right now, this is similar to where students are going to be taking the TSI will be meeting you as a proctor to take their TSI. I know some of you should have already received an email from AccuPlacer with your new user credentials. Those credentials are for logging into this page, which is AccuPlacer platform. The AccuPlacer nationwide is it's called the AccuPlacer test. It's a placement exam nationwide. But here in the state of Texas, it's called the TSI assessment. Okay, so AccuPlacer equals TSI. Okay, so this is where you as a proctor would be logging in for the purpose of starting a test for a student. Okay, not to assign the test or anything like that. The assigning of the test would be for my responsibility. Okay, what your role is essentially is, let's see, sharing screen. I believe I'm sharing my full screen. Are you able to see a Word document? Help me out.
We don't see a Word document. We're still in the browser.
Okay, thank you. All right, so stop sharing that. And I'm going to share my Word document. Here, let me just do the screen. Okay, yes, everybody able to see a Word document now?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, great.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Espinosa just joined us. Okay, so as a proctor, your purpose will be to help supervise students that are taking the TSI. What to expect on the day before the test. And I'm going to go briefly what to expect, like what your new role will look like. And then we can go into details and break it down, okay? As a proctor, the day before, you will be receiving an email similar to this from me that gives you a list of the students that will be testing for the following day. So Mr. Maraboto is working with me to provide a schedule or your schedule to see who is available for the session the next following day. Okay, so I will include you, for instance, here, I already started including Juvenal Figueroa and Karina Llamas, excuse me, for the purpose that they will assist in supervising students taking the TSI. So they receive this email that gives them the start time for that particular student. So for instance, Dulce Montes is testing at 8:30, her date of birth, some information of what she will be testing. So she's taking the math. And then this voucher number, this is generated by me or by my testing specialist. And again, we provide this to the student that will be testing, but we also provide it to you because sometimes students don't read their emails, where their email, it lets them know that they need to write it down. So this voucher number, we created, the testing staff creates it, but we provide it to you. So when you are in the test session with the student, if they don't have it, you can provide it to them, okay? The payment, that's really not necessary. We provide their phone number because when you are doing the check-in process for the student, you need to make sure that they don't have their phone near them. So we need to make sure that their cell phone is turned off. And their email, just in case they lost the link for the test session or they deleted it or for whatever reason they can't find it, you as a proctor can easily email the link. The link is down here at the bottom where it reads meeting ID, password, link. The meeting ID and the password is only necessary if you cannot provide the link. But since we have the link available, you can just copy the link and email it directly to the student, since we also have the email of the student, okay? But again, the testing proctors, they will take the lead in sending out email, like for instance, if the student gets kicked out from the meeting, testing proctors will send the link to the student. So you guys are there for support and not to take the lead. Until you get more comfortable, then right now the testing proctors would be taking the lead on situations like that, okay? So this is the day before, you'll be receiving the email that will include the roster, which is this right here. And you can click, you yourself on the following day, the test day, you can click on this link, okay? And you'll be joining the meeting, similar like you are right now. And the testing proctor will go over introductions. They will give them the general instructions, also the TSI, letting them know what to expect while taking the test in the Zoom platform for TSI. And they will also assign the break rooms. The break rooms are private virtual rooms within the main meeting. Right now, you are all in the main meeting. If I were to choose to send you off into break rooms, you would be by yourself in a private room taking your test, okay? And as a proctor, you would go and visit, say, Cassandra de la Cruz is a proctor for today. And she has, and Sergio Silva and Michael Spinoza are in their own private break rooms. Cassandra would jump into Sergio Silva's room to supervise how he's doing during the test, make sure that the test is still running, make sure that he's not on his cell phone while he's taking the test. And then she leaves Sergio Silva's room and she will jump into Michael Espinosa's room and make sure again that if he needs to take a restroom break, he can, okay? You just make sure that he doesn't take his cell phone while going to the restroom or anything like that. It's still like if they're testing in a regular testing office or any regular testing setting, okay? Even though it's Zoom and even though it's in their home, they still have to abide by testing rules, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's see. So what else? So when students are initially, excuse me. Oh, I forget this part. So when students are broken into break rooms, the proctor's responsibilities are to check IDs, to check the scratch paper that the student has near them. They can have up to 2 sheets of paper. What the students, the students testing would have to do is run the scratch paper across the webcam slowly to show both the front and the back, make sure that there is no writing. Now, sometimes students will write down their voucher number, the meeting ID, the password for the meeting, and that's fine if they have it on their scratch paper. That's completely okay. But that's why you want to make sure that they pass the scratch paper slowly across the webcam so you can, so that you can really read what they have written on the scratch paper, okay? When using a webcam, they just sometimes swipe it real quick and you can tell them to do it again. Don't, please don't just assume that it is their ID just because they have it in hand. You can ask them to do it once again, do it slowly. You can ask them to turn it around so you can see the actual ID number if they're using their school ID. That's completely okay. A student will also show the test area. And again, the slowly part, again, students just swing the webcam from one side of the room to the next. And when they do that, it just looks like a blur. So you can ask them to do it slowly. You need to be able to clearly see that their testing area, their selected area is free of distraction and free of anybody else in the room. Now, if they do select, say, to test in the kitchen area of their home or in the living room, you can ask them if they're going to be interrupted if they do stay in this particular location. If they say, no, everybody left, or they're fine with, say, their mother coming into the kitchen, that won't distract them. Well, to a certain extent, that will be okay. But if the mom starts talking to the student while they're taking the test, then that's not going to be acceptable. Okay. So again,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Juarez, real quick. So it's
yes, sir.
okay if while they're proctoring, they see someone walk in the back of the frame maybe once or twice.
Yeah, it's just depending on the location. So say if it's a communal area, again, the kitchen or the living room, because those are the areas of their home that they have the strongest strength of Wi-Fi, then I can understand another person passing once or twice to a certain extent. Again, if the student is, it would have to be definitely what kind of scenario it is. if there's an additional person and the student is reading the questions out loud, and so that's somewhere where we have to judge, are they reading it out loud for themselves, or are they reading it out loud for the second person that's in the room? So again,
Like if they see the microphone being muted when the person comes
oh,
on the screen, and then it's unmuted all of a sudden, like
no, no.
suspicious people.
Yeah, no, at no point can the mute button be turned on.
There you go.
And
Okay.
the camera and the mic have to be on at all times. At all times, right? Good question. It's sometimes we do also have to be a little bit lenient. I have had students take the test and they don't have anybody to care for their child, and they have told me, well, I have my baby laying here next to me, is that okay, or can I put the mute button? No, they cannot put the mute button. As far as if the baby is crying or anything like that, we as proctors are in their break room maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just supervising them. So the crying baby is not going to be anything that will really disrupt us as proctors, but we definitely need to ask the student, are they comfortable enough to continue testing while their baby is they're taking their attention away from the test. So again, it really is case by case. And as a proctor, if you come across a situation and you don't know how to handle it, again, there will be testing staff there that you can definitely address the situation too, and they can make the judgment along with you. Because, and I say along with you because you would be the one that has seen the student test longer than the testing proctor, okay? So it will have to be something that you work together to make that decision, okay? So continuing on, so showing the test area, making sure it's a 360 pan of the camera, and definitely also under the testing surface. So if they have their laptop on a table or on their desk, please also check underneath their desk. We don't have to inspect every corner, but definitely at least as thorough as you possibly can. We also ask for students to turn off their phones. And rest assured, as a proctor, you are supervising at the max 5 students in one session, if that, okay? You are sharing, whoever is testing, if we have 3 students testing and I have 3 proctors, well, each proctor will have 1 student to supervise. If I have 6 students and only 2 proctors, then now you're supervising 3 students. So you just divide it amongst how many proctors are in the room. Okay, moving on. What to expect? Yes, sir.
Will you always attempt to spread out that work the way you were describing? So you'll never say 3 proctors, 3 students. You'll never give 1 proctor 3 students.
Definitely.
Okay. So you'll always spread it out.
Right. Right now, what we're attempting to do is have all the students that are testing meet in one area. So for instance, right now that we have, let me stop sharing. Right now that we have, oh, Aaron got kicked out. We have 9 people in this room, say Reyes, Cassandra, and I are the proctors. We would divide the rooms between us 3, okay? If it were only Reyes and myself, then we would divide 5 myself and 4 him. So I would say, Reyes, you take break rooms 1 through 4, and I'll take break rooms 5 through 9, or something like that. Okay. So we're just popping in and out, okay? And just sharing the responsibility between us two. Now, what initially we were aiming to do was that as the new proctor, right, it may eventually evolve to that, but right now we want you to help proctor in a big setting like this. I feel that using the testing proctors that have been doing it for about 3 weeks now, you would learn a lot more rather than just using this one training and then having you host your own meeting, okay? So right now, you're in the learning curve. You're learning how to, first one, work with Zoom. The other one is definitely how to work Accuplacer. It's 2 different platforms working into one. So it's a lot that we're asking. We understand that. And right now is the best time because we're not as busy as we're going to get. Okay, so right now you're in the perfect time to start learning these 2 platforms. Okay, my main focus is Accuplacer because once we are allowed to proctor in person, the training that you're getting for Accuplacer will be moved into face-to-face testing. Okay, and no more Zoom. So okay, so Zoom, it takes a while, but to learn. But our main focus, honestly, will be learning Accuplacer. Okay, or TSI, excuse me, how to administer the TSI test for students. Okay, all right, and yes, the document that I can't remember if I did send it or not, but I will. For everybody, for Reyes and everybody in this meeting, so that we can continue moving on and for anybody else who needs the training, okay? The document does include a lot of what to expect while taking the TSI. One of the things is students getting kicked out from the test. Usually the reason that a student could get kicked out from a test could be various things. Because we're not in a controlled area, say like the testing office or computers on our campus that we know will work to administer the TSI, there could be many things, reasons that we cannot launch the TSI test for them. One of the things could be the type of device that they have. As I've mentioned to Reyes before, Apple computers and MacBooks are nemesis. They are, it's not that we can not launch them per se, it's that their security system is very tight and it's difficult to allow for the TSI to be launched on their particular device. Another thing would be internet connection. If there is a lag on their side, that could also interrupt the test since the TSI test is internet-based. That would be another reason that the student could get kicked out. A third reason could be the student is trying to check the time. This test is a lockdown test. So if the test senses that the student is clicking outside of the TSI test, that could be another reason for them to get kicked out. If their computer is getting a notification of some sort, an email came in, a text came in, that would be another reason because instinctively they will click on it. And because they're clicking outside of the TSI test, that would be a reason for them to be kicked out from the TSI test. We can always log them in, so rest assured, we can log them back in, launch their TSI test if they were to get kicked out. It's a process that we'll show you, but it is possible. Please let the student know that the test will save itself in the last question that we're on, okay? Will they lose their progress? No, they will not. Will they have to start from the very beginning? No, they will not. the test will save itself on the last question that we're on. The only one, excuse me, let me do, so little asterisk. The only one that they may lose some information will be if they're in the essay part of the writing test. Yes? Okay. All right, so, and honestly, there are other reasons for a student to get kicked out that could be aside from the ones that I just mentioned. So their firewall, their internet, they clicked for the time, they got a notification, and yet there's still 100 other reasons why they may have gotten kicked out or they continue to get kicked out. Yesterday we had a student get kicked out from the test up to 8 times, and then just suddenly it stopped. It stopped kicking her out. Why was the reason that she was getting kicked out? We don't know. And again, since it's not a controlled environment and we're not computer geniuses working virtually across, you know, the Zoom platform, we can only do so much. And that's, again, something that I can only stress to you, that you are not computer geniuses. We don't expect you to be a computer genius or anything like that. So if we try all the tricks that we know and still we cannot launch the test, we've done our best. And all we can suggest is either for the student to reschedule, or if they can find another device for them to test on. But we'll try as hard as we can, but there will be some situations where we can't help it and we will not be able to launch the test for them. Okay?
Is there a time limit on the test?
No, there is no time limit. This particular test has, if a student starts, say, in math, they're only taking the math, they could essentially work from 8:30 to 8 at night. So 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. It just depends on the day that they're taking the test. So for instance, on Mondays, Thursday, and Fridays, we have students that work up to 8 o'clock at night. So if a student starts early in the morning at 8:30, they could essentially work all the way through until 8 p.m. because this test does not have a time limit.
Okay.
Now, if 8 o'clock rolls around, I mean, I still have to give my my employees a break. So if 8 o'clock rolls around, then my testing proctor will let the student know, okay, we have to save your work right here because we close at 8. You will have to reschedule for the remaining questions another day. So they will have to reschedule for another day for them to continue their test.
And the student would not be charged again if they're just completing a test. Is that correct?
Correct. Perfect question. Yes. If a student is resuming their test, they have to resume it within 10 business days. Otherwise, the progress they've done will expire. So that's the only thing. We try to tell them, okay, you have to reschedule within the week. That way they don't forget and they don't let too much time pass by. So when we save a test, we tell the student, okay, you need to reschedule sometime next week. Otherwise, you will lose whatever progress you've done. If they were to lose their test, then yes, at that moment, they will have to pay again. But if they're just resuming their test, then no, we won't charge them again. Okay, perfect. Anybody else right now? No? Okay. What other things to expect? Well, as I was mentioning, students take their tests in virtual private rooms. So when we send out students into the private room, sometimes they could get stuck in between the main room, like you currently are, till their break room. So they click, they want to join their break room, their assigned break room, but they never actually get there. And what happens is they actually get kicked out from the meeting, so the Zoom meeting. And so what the student would have to do at that moment would be for them just to simply join the meeting again. And that's it. really. It doesn't happen often, but when it happens, there's no need to panic or anything like that. The student just has to click on their link again and join the meeting again. Okay. And again, I did mention this earlier, persistent loud noise on the student side. Again, if you find it too distracting, you can ask the student if they're still comfortable taking the test here. But if they decide to continue because it's noise that they can tune out, then that's fine. But they can't come back and say, oh, it was too loud on my area. At that point, it was the student's call to say that they decided to continue testing in that particular room or living room or kitchen area. Okay.
If the student decides that they want to complete in an area that we deem to be noisy, and then during the test they come to the same conclusion and they decide, like, you know what, I can't finish here. Can
Okay.
I postpone it for later?
Postpone it for later. They can, we'll suggest to see if they can find another location in their home to continue taking their test first. Okay. Yeah. But yes, we have had students that schedule their tests and the same thing, their device is just giving them too many problems. They can't log in and that added stress is not conducive to a good testing session. So if we see that there are also struggling, that they're not 100% focused on this test because they're stressing about the connection on the test or whatever's happening, we have to be understanding also to them, since again, we can't control the situation. We'll be as lenient as we can, but still also letting them know, okay, well, right now we have available space, but as we go on into the summer, availability is going to be limited. So right now, yes, we can definitely help them reschedule.
But the first thing we want to do is to recommend find a new space, find a new area.
Correct. Right. Something private. Right.
Do students have like a certain instruction, like for example, when they're gonna take their test, they have to be in a certain area and with a certain background, like no people do that. Is that notified to them?
Actually, that is a great question. We do send them an email. Let me see. Let me pull it up. We send them an email. We send them a couple of emails, but here, let me pull this one up. Aria. Give me a second. Let me pull it up.
Take your time, man.
Thank you. All right. So student has already been on the wait list. Student already paid for their test. And now it's the day before of their test session. So this is the email that the student will receive. It has their name, their ID number, a quick instructions for step in enrollment. Here is a couple of instructions that we provide the student. Go to Zoom to download it just to make it easier for them when it comes down to joining the meeting. The other thing is Zoom, Zoom and system requirement. Actually, now that I'm here, I need to update this. Oh, there we go. I'll fix that later, but so we ask the student also to check the system requirements for their own device that they're going to be testing. We try to have them as prepared as we can, but again, even still after these instructions, it's still something, the ability to launch their TSI test through their own device is not always 100%. We try to give them all the instructions that we can beforehand, but there's still, again, different things that will prevent that from happening. Okay, so again, we do ask the students to check their system, their own device, to make sure that AccuPlacer will run. So if we do this, it's going to take us to this page and where we verify the system. So this is something that we ask the students to just double check that their device passes in all areas. The browser, the platform, pop-up blockers is another important one. So, okay.
For the Chromebook users, it says that they have to turn off their kiosk mode.
Yes.
Is that turned on by default? So they have to do it every single time?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure.
Better safe than sorry.
Yes, I think that is a default. I think it's one of the features of this particular device of how the setup is for that particular, for Chromebooks. So if a student takes the test on Monday and they retest on Thursday, if they already set it up and they haven't restarted their Chromebook, I'm going to say that that last setup is still available. It's still set up for them. Okay. Okay. We provide also in the email when they're testing, the time that they're testing, the voucher number. Again, this is essentially an access code for the student to log on by the proctor's instructions to the TSI. So this particular student is taking the math. This voucher is linked to this subject and this person. So only that combination is going to allow this voucher to work. Okay. And Melissa, my testing specialist, and myself are the ones that create these vouchers. You as a proctor will not have to worry about that. Okay. And so you were asking, do we give instructions? Yes. Sit in a quiet place where you will be undisturbed while testing. Clear workspace, monitor, keyboard, blank page, scratch paper, pencil. We let them know calculators are not allowed. There is a calculator through the TSI test, and that is the only one that they are allowed to use. If they attempt to use a calculator, say through Windows icon or online, it will kick them out from the test. Okay, so if that were to happen, you find a student, oh, I got kicked out. Well, you want to ask them, well, exactly what was the last step that you did that before you got kicked out? Oh, I was checking the time, or I saw a pop-up, or I was going online trying to get a calculator. I'm like, no, the calculator option is set up by College Board. Only certain questions give the student the option to use a calculator. Not all questions have the calculator option. Okay. What type of calculators does College Board provide to the student? Well, it's a basic calculator, a scientific calculator, and a graphing calculator. It all just depends on the type of question that the student is receiving and that are being allowed to use a calculator. Okay. Be sure to have your photo ID. And this is very important. Picture of ID on the phone is not acceptable. I know a lot of students now just take a picture of their ID because they're afraid of losing their actual ID, or they have already lost their ID. And so unfortunately, we will not accept a picture of an ID on a phone. Okay. This is the link that the student will click on the test for them to join their meeting. And if in case for whatever reason the link does not work, this is the password for the meeting for their test. Okay. And let's see, we'll let them know what we accept as a photo ID, current driver's license, state approved ID, current college ID, passport. And that's pretty much it, what they receive on the day before. And this is the email that the students who are taking the test will receive. Remember, for the day before, your email will look like this. Okay. And sometimes I do, I do forget to send this out, but I'll send it the morning of. Okay. Let's see. All right. So as far as what email I'll be sending this will be going directly to your TSC email. So I know that Mr. Maramoto has provided alternative emails, but I need to be consistent. And so I'll be using the TSC email. Okay.
So guys, please make sure that you're checking your TSC email accounts regularly for this information, as well as other communications from myself or Mr. Espinosa or Ms. Munoz.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You as a proctor can definitely use the link that is provided in the email. That's fine. You'll just be entering into the meeting as one of the students testing. That's fine. Once you're in the meeting, the TSC proctors will identify you as another proctor. Okay. Which reminds me, the last group did mention what to wear. Wear is something presentable. ID badge would be great. And if you have a TSC t-shirt, that's great, but it's not required. T-shirt. Right to be on that. T-shirt. Okay. Let's see. Okay. No, not that one. This one. Okay. So the email, TSC shirt, but not required. Reyes, do you remember anything else that the other group brought up that would be important for them in this group?
Not that I can think of, Ms. Juarez. Actually, the big one that is the one that you mentioned about what they should be wearing.
Right.
We also mentioned the backgrounds, if you want to use like a different background so that they don't see your room or the space that you're working in. You can set that as well when it's appropriate.
Yes. Right. So that's a great point. Right now, my virtual background is not functioning correctly. So that's why I'm not showing my area. But once I get that taken care of, you'll be seeing my face on these trainings. Okay. But yes, virtual for the proctors are allowed a virtual background. And do you need to show your video? And yes, you at least initially, when you are being introduced to the students that are testing, yes, you need to show your face. You need to introduce yourself, and show video. Once you're in the break room, no. Once you're in the break room, we will minimize the amount of distraction to the students. So at that moment, you can turn off your camera and mute yourself. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let us go. This last part, I'm going to review it, but this is something that as you go along, you'll get more experience. This is not the part that I'm expecting for you to start doing, meaning actually allowing students to start their test. This part that I'm going to show you right now, is everybody able to see my AccuPlacer platform?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this part, as a proctor, you will be doing more when we are face-to-face with students, and you will probably have to oversee your own private test room. This part will be used later on, okay? So once you log in as a proctor into AccuPacer, and you have given instructions to students to go on to use voucher, they fill out their voucher number. Remember, that's on their email, and they put their last name on here and their date of birth. They will click submit, and it will give them a screen that lets them know they're waiting for test approval. So once you have your test room at that moment, at that spot, all of your 10 students are in that same place waiting for your approval. You as a proctor will log into your AccuPlacer account. You will select dashboard, test center management, and then you will see the students that have been assigned to you. Say, for instance, these 4 students have been assigned to you, and they're waiting approval for you to allow them to start their test. Well, all these 4 students will be highlighted in red, and all you have to do is come over here and select approve test. Okay, and you'll do it for how many ever students are in your test area. Okay, if you have 4 students, then you'll only see 4 students. If all 4 students were able to put in their voucher number correctly and their last name correctly and their date of birth correctly, then you'll see all your students in this platform waiting for you to approve the start of their test. And once you click approve all, then the system will recognize that you have approved their voucher to allow them to start their testing. And then as a group, their tests will start all together. Now, if you're having difficulties with one student, either their last name does not match up or their date of birth does not match up, still approve all the students that you can so that at least the other 4 can get started and you can work one-on-one on the one student that is having difficulty. It could be sometimes that the date of birth was entered incorrectly, or they're putting, say, a 2 last name type of entry when the voucher that was created. Remember, as I mentioned before, their last name is tied to their voucher number. So if, say, for instance, Alexa Medina is actually Alexa Medina-Garcia, and when they're entering their information on the AccuPacer voucher login place here, they're putting Medina-Garcia. Well, it's now going to recognize the last name with the voucher number because the voucher number was just registered as Medina. So that could be something that, again, later on, once it's more one-on-one, once you get the experience of working with the AccuPacer platform and Zoom, maybe you'll start getting more hands-on experience on this part. But for right now, this is something that we're hoping that you do get the experience for when we are doing face-to-face. Okay, so we're in this part. You just finished approving everybody's test. Everybody thankfully launched their test, and then they're on their way and taking the TSI and are able to complete their TSI test. Questions at this point? I know it's a lot of information, but trust me, all my student workers started where you are right now, and I'm able to be in this meeting with you guys and not have to worry about what's going on in their side. They're actually proctoring right now. And so I'm confident that I can leave them alone and they can take care of proctoring the students. Okay, so you will get there. It's a lot of information, I know, but you will get there. Where you are right now will not be where you are in a week from now, or even 2 weeks from now. Okay, I know Juvenal and Karina jumped on one of our sessions yesterday. And if you feel more comfortable and see what their experience is or was, go ahead and reach out to them and see how it was. It's one of your colleagues that already got a little bit, at least one day of experience. So I'm sure that will help you out, ease your mind as far as what to expect. Again, I will start including you in those emails. As soon as you finish the TSI proctor certification, I will start including you in those emails so that you can start jumping in and seeing how it is. Okay, not that I'm expecting for you to take on the responsibility as a host, but for sure to start getting the experience of working through Zoom and TSI. Okay. And yesterday I did set up credentials for some new students. So yesterday you should have received an email from AccuPlacer to reset your password. If you didn't receive it on your inbox, I would definitely recommend for you to check your spam or your junk mail. If still you don't receive it, check with Maraboto so that he can let me know and I can maybe reset your password. The link is only available for 24 hours. So I sent it maybe last night. Yes, thank you, Cassandra. I sent it last night around 7. So you have until 7 today to find that email. If not, that particular link will expire and I'll just have to reset it for you.
I found it. It's on others. So that's where we're going to find it if we used our TSE account.
Under others.
Yes.
Others. Oh, okay. Thank you for that tip.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
For my credentials, my name didn't go through. So like everybody puts Cassandra with double S. So I put Cassandra with double S and it went through.
Oh, okay. I can fix that for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it's Cassandra with one S.
Okay. So Cassandra with one S. Okay. So right now it is the time for your Q&A. Let's see if I can help you out with any information. If not, or through the chat again, you can send it through the chat. That's fine. And if maybe later on also you have questions or doubts or something comes up, you have my email. I sent it. You'll have it because I sent you this invitation. And definitely address any questions to myself, or you can send them to Reyes. Reyes can then send it to me, however you like. But we're here to help you. I'm here to help you. My staff is here to help you. You are helping us, so we definitely want your help. So we're going to do anything possible to help you get to where you're helping us with this new process.
Guys, if you have any questions, please, now, like Miss Mary said, now's the time. And ask whatever you need to ask. It doesn't matter if you feel like it's been answered or something. Let us know. You know, she's the perfect person.
Again. And again, this recording is to also help future students that are going to be helping us. So something that maybe we should repeat or I should repeat, let me know and I'll go ahead and address it again. If not, then
how do we know, or the students notify that they need a break? Is that for them to choose or for us to say?
Perfect question. No, the student still has a choice. Hopefully they decide to take that restroom break while you're in the room with them. So you just finished coming in from another room and now they see you, that they probably will ask you, but if you come into, say, Sergio Silva's room and he's not there, then you wait for him and you ask, sir, were you in the restroom, or where did you step away to? Okay.
Okay, and like us as proctors, we must have our audio and camera on all times.
Only when you're giving your instructions, Cynthia. When you're giving your instruction, that is, or you're giving help, I would say definitely show your video and your mic should be on. But when you're jumping into break rooms, the student is testing, your camera and your mute button can be on. It's theirs, they cannot.
Okay.
If yours is off and your mic is, and you're on mute, you can still hear them. And essentially that's who you want to hear. You want to hear them and see them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm.
And it's also kind of about, like you mentioned, ma'am, the avoiding distraction for the student. Is that correct?
Yes, it's to avoid distractions. Yes, definitely. Also, I want to point out that, and I don't know what side work you may have, is that after we launch the test, it's a lot of just sitting there and looking at the student if you don't have anything else to do. For instance, my students, when they launch the test and the student's already off and running with their test, I do have additional work for them to do. So enter scores or tasks like that. So if Mr. Maraboto has that for you as well, you can still do that even though you're proctoring the student, okay? And if he doesn't have any other duties, let me know. I'll give you something to do. No, I'm just kidding.
And real quick, to add to your point, Ms. Juarez,
Yes.
that for the tutors, we
Yes.
do want you guys making sure that you're attending to your tutoring, attending to your appointments. But any other downtime activity, any other side projects that we're assigning you, those kinds of work, that kind of work can be done during these proctoring sessions. But you should not be taking appointments during proctoring sessions. Then there's too much, it would be too much distraction. You need to be focused on proctoring the students.
Yes, we will understand. Definitely your first responsibility and priority is as a tutor to help tutor students. And the proctoring is just a support, as I mentioned before. Okay, perfect. All right, guys. I think that's about it for today. Again, we'll probably meet again, but I will start. Oh goodness, is it going to end? Did my site freeze up? Oh no, my internet, it's going in and out. Okay, so I will start. I would recommend for you to log on to AccuPlacer. I need to send that document on how to take the test. There is a test portion associated with being a proctor, which means that you just have, there is a document that you can review. It's what your role is as a proctor, what to expect, what to do. Say if you see any cheating, what is the process? So there is a 10-question test that you do need to pass. Once you complete that test, please email me the certificate to myself or to Mr. Maraboto or to Mr. Espinosa or to Mr. Silva so that they can then forward it over to me. I need to make sure before I start adding you to the test sessions that you are certified to proctor. Okay.
That certification test, they can take that as many times as they need to pass it.
Yeah, so it's a test that you do need to achieve 100%. It is open book, and you can take it as many times as you need to achieve that 100%. Okay. All right, folks. Any, Mr. Silva, Mr. Espinosa, do you guys want to add anything?
When you're starting the proctoring, The student has to do a 360 view of the room. Do they have to do that?
They will, the student testing, yes. They will have to do that, but in the break room. We don't want their living environment to be public to the other students that are taking the test. So it's only in the break rooms. And the same thing with IDs. We don't want to be showing their ID in the webcam in the main meeting room. We want to do that in the private rooms.
What if they have a desktop? Like, do they skip that portion?
No, we cannot skip it. They'll have to do as best as they can just to demonstrate that they are alone taking the test.
I
Okay.
think I know what you mean though, Mr. Silva, because there's some computers that have the camera attached so that they have to move the whole screen.
Right.
So that might be a challenge, but like
It
you
will be a challenge, but we're going to be understanding, and they can take as long as they need to, but we'll need to verify.
Okay.
Okay.
Just making sure.
Yes, no, I understand.
said.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
one last thing, I do apologize. And again, as you get the experience and as I'm remembering, when the student is done, we need to verify that they tear up their scratch paper. Their scratch paper they cannot keep. The scratch paper, they do need to tear it up into tiny little pieces. How tiny? Confetti size tiny.
Oh,
Because
okay.
That's not an exaggeration.
yes.
Man.
Yes.
Literally, like as small as possible.
As small as possible, yes.
Okay.
If they're taking the time then to piece it together, well, then I guess they deserve to see that one question again.
I was talking
Yeah.
to Juvenal
We can only
yesterday. Do you have to give them the
Yeah.
test scores?
Go ahead.
Or
Do the proctors have to give them the test scores?
Test scores, the student can write it down, definitely. But there's other ways for the student to get access to the scores. If the student, let me share. If the student goes on to AccuPacer, there is a button here for student portal. They click information for student. They select your AccuPacer score report. And then they simply add their information here. Now, when taking the TSI with TSC, we have created an ID number that is 8 digits. Our TSC ID numbers are at the most 7 digits. So what we have resolved is that we place a 0 in front of the ID. So if the student's ID number is 149, when it comes down to requesting their score, they have to put a 0. If it's a 5-digit ID number, then they have to put 3 zeros and so on and so forth to fill up that to the 8-digit, okay? So then they simply put Alexa Medina here, their date of birth, where they tested, United States, Texas. And then Texas Southmost College. Okay. Now, so they put in their information. So since we can't print it for them, the student can easily come onto this platform, log in, and send the scores to themselves. Okay. The other way that they can do it is that when they're taking the test, there will be a demographic information page where they have to fill in their mailing address or email address. There is also a line or a question there where it allows the student to select where they want that particular TSI test that they are taking at TSC to be sent to. So for instance, if they're taking the TSI via Zoom with us and they want to send it to UTRGV, there is a line on there where they can select UTRGV to be a recipient of their score. and they can put up to 3 schools. If it's a high school student that they're doing dual enrollment, they can put on there, they can type it in, Brownsville ISD and UTRGV, maybe later after they graduate. Okay. The last option for sending the scores, and I say the last is because we are bombarded, we're inundated with emails right now. The best ways of communication for testing is phone and email. So it's difficult for us to get to the email for the from the student to send them scores. We'll get to it. I just don't know how long it will take for us to send them the scores to them. Okay. That's a perfect question.
One more thing I did want to mention, we, for you work studies individuals, we do have a form, a digital form that we want you guys filling out when you are proctoring, and really every day, just letting us know what proctoring events you had, or if you didn't have an event. But it's actually a link that we've sent out to you guys to a digital spreadsheet that we pretty much just want you guys filling out every day. So if you haven't gotten that link yet, and Cynthia, I believe I still need to send it to you. But if you haven't gotten the link, Cassandra, I'll send it to you as well. We'll make sure that you get it so that you can start to fill out that form. As long as you have internet, it'll open up, fill out the questions that it shows, and you'll do that on a daily basis. Okay?
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. How do we do? Good? Feedback?
Yes.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm hoping to meet you guys virtually, if anything, and get to know you. And I do appreciate all you are doing, those additional responsibilities that you're taking on. I really don't know how much myself and my testing staff appreciates it. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna go
Bye,
ahead.
everybody. Bye, Mary.
Thank you, everyone.